Federal prosecutor is filing charges against the suspect in the deadly Fort Lauderdale airport shooting. 5 people were killed in Friday's attack and 6 others were hurt. 3 of them are still in the ICU. Joel Waldman of our affiliate WSVN has more.
Investigators are not ruling out terrorism as a potential motive behind Friday's deadly shooting here at the Fort Lauderdale airport.
We have interviewed him, but it's way too early for us to really rule out anything. We're looking at everything, including potentially terrorism related.
As authorities continue to investigate the airport shooting, Florida Governor Rick Scott meeting Saturday with victims being treated at a local hospital.
The person responsible for this act will be brought to justice to the fullest extent of the law.
Chaos erupting Friday afternoon when an airline passenger identified as 26-year-old Esteban Santiago opened fire in Terminal 2 of the busy Fort Lauderdale airport.
Last night was just purely chaos. When we was here yesterday, people was running out.
5 people were killed in the attack, some shot point blank in the head and 6 others wounded. After Santiago ran out of ammo, he reportedly laid on the terminal floor and then was taken into custody. Last year, the suspect was discharged from Alaska's Army National Guard for unsatisfactory performance.
He said he was hearing these voices, that the government of the United States wanted to tie him up with certain groups so he would be part of ISIS. He was very paranoid.
The FBI announcing today that the 26-year-old Iraq War veteran will face federal charges.
Joel Waldman, thank you.
For more on this, let's bring in Steve Rogers, a former member of the FBI Joint Terrorism Task Force, a retired lieutenant commander of the U.S. Navy in the Office of Naval Intelligence. Steve, always great to see you. All right, so the surveillance videotape shows Santiago firing at people, aiming at their heads. Very methodical, said one witness who was there at the scene. In addition to that, he confesses to the FBI that he planned this. Your reaction?
2 things. One is, yes, he did plan it. He confessed that, as you said. But, you know, Greg, here's the issue. The issue is we in this country are giving individuals like this the opportunity to commit these acts. This was a soft target. It goes back to, I believe, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, is that her name?
Yes.
All right, she says that this whole issue should be revisited. Well, what should be revisited is, A, the proactive policing methodologies that we need to increase in these high-volume airports. Meaning, think about this. This guy looked around. There were hardly any police, armed police around. So you need to have a very strongly armed and high visible uniformed police officers in these airports. Secondly, they have a concealed carry law in Florida. You're not allowed to carry carry concealed weapons in the airport. We need a national concealed carry law, very, very controversial, that'll give people the ability to protect themselves.
So more civilians with guns might have been able to limit this or protect?
Yes. Let me qualify that. We're talking about civilians that are trained, that know how to use these weapons in the event that they become the next victim of an attack. And look what's happened worldwide. These people are sitting ducks. We're sitting ducks.
So this guy, Santiago, he walks into the FBI field office in Anchorage, Alaska, and he says he is under mind control by a U.S. intel agency being forced to watch ISIS videos. Well, the Bureau immediately notifies local law enforcement. Local law enforcement has him medically evaluated. It's unclear what happened after that, but should somebody like that not have been able to check on board a plane a gun?
Well, it goes to this point, which they are investigating. He possibly got that gun before he began to have a mental breakdown or whatever this was. I don't buy into that right now because he had planned and executed this attack. But certainly people who have mental issues should not be carrying weapons. And any gun owner will certainly agree with that. But in this case, it goes back to the question of, you know, did they, meaning the authorities, allow this to happen because of their archaic gun laws? Here, you're telling people they can't carry legal weapons into the airport, and yet they're giving people the ability to carry them in luggage.
Is there a gap between somebody who's being medically evaluated for psychiatric problems and notification of the federal government so he doesn't get on board a plane with a gun?
Well, there is a background checks on all these individuals, but we still don't know. If you have a medical problem, believe me, the authorities are notified in most states, and then there's going to be a red flag.
All right. He complied with TSA regulations, which allow you to put a gun in a locked, hard-sided container, which is then checked on board. that's in compliance with the TSA. Should we revisit that TSA reg?
Well, we should revisit it, yes, but we also should revisit what I shared earlier. He complied with the law. He knew he could take the weapon out in the bathroom. He looked around. There are very few visibly armed police officers around. It was a crime of opportunity. They're asking why Florida?
Right.
Maybe he realized in that airport there's not too many armed people around. You know what? I'm going to be successful.
I mean, look, he could have gone to the Anchorage airport and started shooting up people in the baggage claim without checking the weapon on board and traveling to Fort Lauderdale and doing it there. So it could have happened just about anywhere. Do you expect an insanity or diminished capacity defense here?
Oh, absolutely. There'll be a diminished capacity defense. I hope it's not successful. If there is a ISIS connection, if there is a terrorist connection, that certainly is going to be investigated by the FBI, and they're going to reveal that. They are doing a great job. The FBI, law enforcement, doing a great job. But it's all about now, let's start talking about being proactive.
You can't protect every soft target area by policing it up, though.
Well, you can't prevent every terrorist attack, but you can minimize the loss of life, and that's the point here. If you have, again, I go back to a very visible armed police like you have now.
Yeah.
The opportunity to commit such an act with a high volume of casualties is very minute. And if they're going to talk about costs, then you have concealed carry laws. Let's make a national concealed carry law and give people the ability to defend themselves.
I was just at the airport on Friday. I did notice a significant police presence, but that's in New York. I guess, maybe they're a little more lax in, places like Fort Lauderdale?
Well, I've been down to Fort Lauderdale, beautiful airport. But you're right. In the New York and New Jersey area, New Jersey police and New York police coordinate a lot together,
right.
A lot of intelligence gathering. And I noticed it in Port Authority. They even have dogs there. I'll tell you what, you feel like you're in the safest place in the world because it's that police visibility that criminals or terrorists are going to look at, and they're not going to commit these acts when they're there.
This guy spent 9 years in the military. He was deployed in Iraq. I guess they're examining his service record to determine whether or not he suffered from PTSD. There might be a connection there.
Could be, and I believe that, again, another failure of the VA. They should really give everyone who's leaving the military, especially a war zone, some sort of counseling, psychological evaluation before they go out.
Keep track of people.
Keep track of them. Absolutely.
This guy clearly had issues.
Well, he did. But I'm not going to go down the road that it was those issues that caused this act. He planned it and executed it.
And he may be executed as a consequence. Steve Rogers. Steve, good to see you.
Well, thank you very much.
Art?
Okay, Greg.